Good morning and welcome to the Standing Committee meeting for Wednesday, November 20th, 2024. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Sharland. Mr. Coghill.
Here.
Ms. Gross. Mr. Lavelle.
Here.
Mr. Mosley. Mrs. Cal Smith. Ms. Warwick.
Here.
Mr. Wilson. Ms. Strasburger.
Here.
Ms. Councilman Charlin, are you with us?
I was gonna say, it's not 5.
Oh.
Was he with us? I'm glad I'm the only one that doesn't walk around with a cracked phone. That sucks, doesn't it?
Well, a lot of it is my cover,
Oh, okay, yeah.
but yours might be your cover too. You know what I mean?
This is in good shape. I mean,
Is there somebody coming? Councilman Sharlin. Here. Mr. Wilson.
Here.
6 members present.
Thank you. We'll now move on to public comment. I would like to remind all speakers of the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation which may be before City Council. Profanity is not permitted. After you recall, please restate your name, provide your neighborhood for the record. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. Our first registered speaker is Dr. Ronald N. Miller.
Dr. Ronald N. Miller, Bel Suver, Al-Quds, Palestine, Yerushalayim, Israel. Consider UN Resolution 2131 and its application to people here. Global Intelligence Society candidate for President 2028. We have initiatives in place to get the U.S. Supreme Court to go pro, vote by voter verification for whom, and the U.S. Congress to adopt an anti-electoral college amendment. A concern of this council is to affirm the diverse international ethnic identities of Pittsburghers, of whom some are Arab Palestinians and Jewish Israeli, U.S. Americans, and residents from the states of Palestine and Israel, which can include Hamas and Mossad in this city. I will be doing conversations on Palestine P and Israel I in Council District 5, Squirrel Hill. RLMPI conversations will be broadcast within District 5 and out to all other districts, all 8 other districts, and to all 50 U.S. American state capitals using the Global Information Intelligence Network.net. My P&I conversations will not be brought to Pittsburghers at institutions of the religions of Islam or Judaism. Another concern of council is public comment, PC. I have done more than 500 public comments between 2010 and 2024. I'm not new to this. In 2024, I created the Global Information Intelligence Network.net. It's the only one in the world with the email Global Info Intelligence Network at gmail.com. Access of my PCs is being posted on the GIIN.net from 2024, working backward. I invented the GIIN.net as a part of the overall Global Intelligence Information Network vector of the Global Intelligence Society to bypass what we consider to be the ideologically biased media, which includes CBS KDKA, NBC WPXI, and NBC WTAE. If any of you citizens want to compete for government office, say mayor in 2025, outside the DPRP framework, we will cover you. The UN Resolution 2131 is the inadmissibility of the intervention of the domestic affairs of states. The United States of America and Israel are in violation of this resolution.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Chief Pomai Chakman Yahalahi.
Emakak Alakain, everyone. The light in me honors the light in you. My title is Pomai Chakman Yahalahi. I'm the Grand Inca of my bloodline lineal nation, the Tuscarora of Aborigine Americans, and I'm the Chief of Medicine, Land Management, and Land Stewardship with the Iroquois Confederacy of Aborigine American People. I'm here today to speak very briefly that this is a nation of laws, and the rule of law is clear. There are a separation of powers. The separation of powers is a constitutional principle that divides the government into three branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. One makes the law, one enforces, and one interprets. And excluding Indians not taxed has been interpreted well before any of us were created. This phrase specifically refers to Aborigine Americans identified as Indians who are not taxed by the federal government, indicating that we are not considered part of the population for the purpose of representation. For we speak for ourselves and we speak on our own behalves. In the historical context, during the time the Constitution was written, Aborigine American nations, clans were and still are today considered sovereign nations with our own governments and not subject to federal laws, including taxation. I say this to remind you, City Council members, whom are citizens under the jurisdiction of the United States Government Corporation.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jaljeeb Chanel King.
In Alakain, that's proto-mine, for the light in me honors the light in you. Greetings, my Aborigine American title is Yahalahi Chinalkain. I am Indians not taxed, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, and excluding Indians not taxed. In the Bouvier's dictionary states, Indians, the Aborigines of the country, are so called. I am located within the Delaware Territory, as you all will call Pittsburgh. My statements will reflect my people's story, our perspective, culture, traditions, and heritage of the first inhabitants, the original stewards of our ancestral lands, the Americas, including the islands, the Onkwe Onwe from our great law of peace. My people are acknowledged in multiple maxims of law, such as the United States of America's Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, and excluding Indians not taxed. House Congress Resolution 331, whereas my people are acknowledged to the development of the United States Constitution, and to reaffirm the continuing government-to-government relationship with my people, the Delaware Treaty, the Northwest Ordinance, the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, 100th Congress Second Session, Thomasina v. O. Jordan case, whereas Walter Ashby Plecker justified with the states encouraging them to reclass non-reservation Indians to Negro, which has since been repealed as unlawful. Are you, those on City Council, going to honor your oath to the Constitution, on Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, and excluding Indians not taxed? From the ADRIP, recognizing that the rights of my people are both essential and of historical significance to the present and future of the Americas, concerned that my people have suffered from historic injustices as a result of inter alia, A-L-I-A, colonization, genocide, and thus the dispossession of our ancestral lands, territories, and resources, thus preventing Aborigine Americans from exercising, in particular, our rights, our constitutional indigenous right to develop in the accordance with our own needs and interests. Seek out Aborigine American Indian communities' free, prior, and informed consent before approving projects that could affect our lands or territories and other resources, such as EPA, Food, Forestry, Arts, and Culture, and America's Aborigine Law Protectors, and Environmental Law Protectors, which Chief East Pomai Chakman Yahalahi is the creator of, and I stand alongside her. My people have constitutional indigenous rights to conserve and protect, and the protection of our environment and the productivity and the productive capacity of my people's lands or territories and natural resources. States shall establish and implement assistance programs for my people for such conservation and protection without discrimination,
Thank you very much. Our last registered speaker is Ikahana Halmalkina.
Greetings and good day to everyone on City Council. My title is Chief Grand Inca Ikahana Halmalkina of the Iroquois Confederacy of Aboriginal American Peoples. All we are saying to City Council is to be true to what you say on paper. Be true to what you signed up to do, which is to roll out the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In there it reads, on Article 13, everyone has the right and the freedom of movement to travel as we wish. You have committed yourselves to this declaration. You've made the city of Pittsburgh a human rights city. The denial of these basic rights is in direct violation of the oath you took to the leadership role of city council members. Be true to the oath you took. Be honorable to the people. My message to your leaders who are a part of the executive branch of government and responsible for diplomacy with other nations, and also responsible for signing treaties to ensure that no inequities exist. It is your job. It is your duty. You took an oath. These are the very people violating our rights, causing hardships upon my people, conducting unlawful arrests, illegal searches and seizures of our property, extorting us for fiat currency, making it difficult for us to enjoy the liberties secured to us in the Constitution, according to Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 of the Constitution for the United States and also for Pennsylvania. You are disrupting our pursuit of happiness. It is unlawful to deny us these basic rights. We are asking that you honor your oath and take meaningful steps to address these concerns that have been expressed on this line today, and that we continue to show up and express. There's legislation that we are looking for you to pass on our behalf in order to secure these fundamental rights. It is nothing new that we are asking of. There's apologies that have already been issued by the United States acknowledging these ill-conceived policies. It is time to take these meaningful steps to address the historical injustices that must be reconciled and redressed. Thank you for your time. May the words that we spoke on council today penetrate the hearts, minds, and spirits to cause you to.
Thank you very much. That exhausts our list of registered speakers. If there's anyone in chambers wishing to speak, please come forward at this time. Provide your name, neighborhood for the record. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning. My name is Yvonne F. Brown. I live at 715 Mercer Street. That's at the top of the hill, the high rise. I want to say something to you, councilmen, especially you two. You know what, ladies? I appreciate you calling and speaking on the telephone, on TV. But you need to come down and watch them. 2 of them. Well, the two last Native Americans were speaking. You two talked all the way through. So that's 6 minutes you kept talking. And you should be fined, but you don't. If I say something, you'll try to get me fined. I want every one of you to be fined if you're talking when we're talking. You got 3 minutes and you can't even listen. And you try to act like you're so professional. You know what? You're just dregs on us. You're getting paid. I said 80,000. She's telling me you get 86,000. You only come to, I don't know how much you get. I asked you and she just won't tell me. But you only come twice a week and won't even come then. You know what? You are very disappointing to the people in the community. I'm not the only one fussing. You ought to believe it. They tell me to come down and tell me. And they actually cheer me. Go down and tell them. And I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to come down and explain to you that we are human beings, and that's all we want you to do is to treat us like one. I want to say, because I want to say this before I forget, Elaine Eckert, I see that she died. Now, she was a good friend. I take her as a friend. She also worked for KQV, and the reason why I remember that station is because my father used to read the paper from front to back. When his eyesight went bad, he should listen to KQV, not KDKA, because Marty Griffin, he needs to be taken off too. But anyway, KQV, because that was the news all day long, and he would say, we need to listen. And I come down here because the people need to know what things are doing down here. They don't want to even come, because the older man told me if he come down here and Yins are talking when he wants to run and knock you in your head because you're supposed to be listening. But I'm not for violence. I just want you to shut your mouth when the people are talking. Please, we got 3 minutes. That's all. And you can't shut your mouth for 3 minutes? You two talking about what? You're supposed to be listening to us. That's why they gave us 3 minutes. And you won't even listen for 3 minutes. Ooh. Oh. And the last thing I want to say, there's an older lady that lives in my building. She's 93 years old. She has a son that comes every morning, and I hear him talking to her, Mommy, and so on. Well, I just found out that he died. And that's a very hurting thing, not only for me, but I know her. He comes every day. Now he's gone, and she's 90-something years old. You need to understand. I'm telling you this because a lot of times we're older, and when you take something away from us that we're used to, we can't accept it. I cannot accept it. You three, all of you, won't shut your mouths for the 3 minutes that we're talking, especially you, Mr. Carthill. You like to run your mouth. Miss Gross ain't here for her to run her mouth, so you're taking up her place, huh? You just need to get yourself together. And I know, I've been praying. Do you understand? I believe there is a God. Some people say there's not. I believe there's a God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I go to church and I pray to take the feelings I have against you. Take them away, Lord. Please take them away. But when I come every day and you're still doing the same things and you don't get remanded for it, you don't get stopped. But if I sit back there and Miss Smith set the policeman back there to tell me to be quiet when the whole audience was talking about when Fitzgerald came. He won't come to the meetings for the prisons, but he'll come here and get proclamations and take up time. Do you understand? I am getting tired, but I'm asking God to help me to keep coming. Because you need to hear me even if you don't want to. You need to hear me and see me. I'm fighting for our lives. You make the rules and we die. You know it. We die when you make the rules. So we should be able to tell you what rules you should make. Because we're the ones dying.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Special Agent Sunshine. How's everyone? I'm going to start with prayer. Dear Jesus, please give me courage to represent you with love and wisdom. Acts 21:39 says, please let me speak to the people. I had no idea 5, maybe 10 years ago that I would be on a podium like this talking about God and how he saved me from people literally trying to kill me. I had no idea. But when I was made aware that's what was happening in my life, I literally felt like him because they tried to kill him numerous times and failed. So I stand here before you letting you know that the reason that he made the commandment, thou shalt not kill, is because when you do, it's returned to sender. That's what happens. Even if you harbor it in your heart, in your mind, You think you want somebody dead, it returns to sender. If it doesn't come to you, I promise you that energy that God returns does not miss. It'll hit somebody. Your mother, your child, somebody will get that energy that you put out. You reap whatever you sow. That's a very powerful scripture. A lot of people don't get it till they reap what they've sown. Proverbs 19:22 says, what a person desires is unfailing love. Better to be poor than a liar. God's destroying liars. Now, let's get to some statistics. I do a lot of research, y'all. It's crazy how much research I do. But I can't find it, Lord. In regards to the income, what I found that you guys make is like over $86,000, and that's a 3% increase from last year. My question is, how is it that Mosley can come in here and get money from you guys to pay his lease for his Northside location? And not only did he not come in here, he paid a consultant to come in here and get the money to pay his lease for the Northside Roots location. And he makes $86,000 a year. How is it he's not able to pay his lease? We'll find out in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please. Seeing no further speakers, we'll move on to the standing committee agenda. The first committee is Finance and Law, which is chaired by Councilwoman Strasburger. First supplemental paper is Bill 1193.
Bill 1193, Resolution amending Resolution 523 of 2024, which reappropriated Federal American Rescue Plan funding by updating the approved projects as outlined in Exhibit A, Version 9.
If we could have a motion to hold for a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The bill be held for a public hearing, cablecast public hearing. Bill 1194.
Bill 1194, Resolution amending Resolution 525 of 2024, which authorized an American Rescue Plan Act agreement or agreements with the Pittsburgh Parking Authority by updating the approved projects lines at no cost to the city.
Need a motion to
Motion to
approve?
approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Maybe count.
I could probably answer your question.
Yeah, I was going to ask if someone can answer the question.
Yeah, this is to add EV charging support to the Pittsburgh Parking Authority, I believe specifically for the Kirkland Avenue project.
Cool.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Next is Bill 1213, and Madam Clerk, if you would also read Bill 1144, which is on Councilman Mosley's committee. It's the very last, page 17, the very last page in you all's packet. They're complementary.
Bill 1213, Resolution authorizing and directing the controller to encumber funds budgeted in the 2024 operating budget for a disparity study for subsequent expenditure once the procurement process is complete. Council authorizes the execution of an agreement and said agreement and duly executed and countersigned. And Bill 1144, Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a cooperation agreement or amendments thereto with the County of Allegheny, the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh, the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh, the Stadium Authority of the City of Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh Water, and the Public Parking Authority of Pittsburgh to govern the processes associated with the facilitation of a Pittsburgh regional disparity study.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Was that the other bill too?
And I have a motion to amend 1144.
Hold on, need a second first.
The paperwork
Second.
is on the table.
So first, and I'll turn it over to you after this, Councilman Mosley. So we'll begin with 1144, as I hear him want to chime in. This is, disparity study has been before us a couple times. This is simply authorizing a cooperation agreement for all the authorities to participate with the city in conducting the disparity study. Councilman Mosley?
Yeah, I just have a motion to amend 1144. There was some language that wasn't in
Second.
the bill, I believe, last week.
And it's been seconded. It simply adds the word "at no cost to the city" in the first paragraph. Any discussion on the amendment? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any further discussion on the bill? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill 1144 has been passed. That'll take us back to Bill 1213. This also relates to the disparity study. Disparity study will not be under contract until sometime early next year. However, the dollars are currently in the budget, so we're authorizing the controller to encumber the dollars so that they don't return to the general fund, but rather is still encumbered for the disparity study. Once that contract is under place, it'll come back to council next year for execution.
We've already motioned for it, right?
Yes.
There's a
also an amendment. When I put this together, I missed the words and I also put the wrong amount in. It's actually $225,000 as opposed to $200,000.
motion to amend Bill 1213.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Is this, I mean, I can't remember a time that we've done encumbering funds at the end of the year so that we can use them next year without having them going back in the general fund. Is that, and I could be wrong, that could be something that we've done before, we don't recall it.
We've done it before. It's not, I would say, it's not commonplace, but it's also not odd.
Okay. Okay.
Any further discussion on the amendment? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any further discussion on the bill as amended? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That'll take us to Bill 1216.
Bill 1216, Resolution Amending and Supplementing Resolution Number 777 of 2016, effective December 29, 2016, entitled Resolution Providing for the Creation of a Trust Fund for the Southside Parking Enhancement District Trust Fund and setting conditions for the deposit and expenditure of such funds. This fund is for the exclusive use of funding public safety, maintenance, and parking enforcement for the Southside Parking Flats Enhancement District, as shown in Exhibit A, by adding additional permitted uses for trust fund dollars.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Councilman Charlin? I believe this is the bill you explained to us yesterday.
Yes,
Okay.
For a brief discussion, what I am trying to do here is use the parking enhancement district. We've pretty narrow parameters on the parking enhancement district. When Councilman Kraus created this program, we want to make sure that we can explicitly use this for holiday decorations and economic development along the street. So that's what I'm looking to change here, and I would appreciate member support on that.
Thank you very much. Councilman Wilson?
I just want to ask quick interrogatory. What's economic development? I mean, I know what it is. I was just
Yeah.
curious, like, if there's,
So
curious to know if I can learn something here.
happy to teach you something. No, the idea is that we have this business district manager that we're bringing online. We want to make sure that we have the ability, and I don't know what this will look like quite yet, but the ability for operating costs for the business district manager to be able to access the parking enhancement district sometime next year. Right now, the reason this concern is pressing is because I want to put holiday lights on East Carson Street. But while we're doing this, I want to also open this up for, if we want to, I'm guessing at this point, but some form of matching funds for facade grants or something like that we want to do out of the parking enhancement district. We want to make sure that that option is open. So right now, it can only be used for like parking authority things and public safety things and like capital investments in terms of fixing lighting. We want to make sure that we can use it to help recruit and retain businesses on East Carson Street.
All right.
Councilwoman Warwick?
Just interrogatory. So is that something that you've like looked at with legal? Because I'm very interested. I'm always trying to convince Squirrel Hill to do a parking enhancement district, and you know, for the various things that they would like to do along, you know, because it's very nice, so it's hard for the city to justify making it nicer when there are other needs. But if they had this funding that was just for their neighborhood, so is that something that you've like cleared with legal so that, you know, they could use it for something that isn't like a specifically like a city?
Yeah, we talked to
expense?
procurement about this.
Okay.
If we do want to make transfers there, we will have to have further discussion with legal as far as the economic development portion of it. I'm not. The solicitor hasn't signed off on that yet, but
Okay.
the idea that we're just kind of opening the pathway. We don't have the business district manager online yet. They, as I've been preaching the good news, the business district manager will hopefully go online sometime in the first quarter next year. This will be, and frankly, we don't make enough money in the parking enhancement district to allow the business, you know, to fund much of economic development there. This is going to be a small amount there, but we do fund the clean team through there, and that makes a huge difference. We take away almost a full ton of trash every month on East Carson Street. We also have been able to fund banners and things like that on the street to make the street more of a sense of place. But I do think it's time, and as I've said publicly, we've really worked very hard with the Southside Entertainment Patrol to solve some of our issues related to public safety on the street, but we really need to elevate the economy of the street because the police are doing a fantastic job, but at some level it feels like they're dodging raindrops, and we need to give them some support as well and show them that we support them.
Yeah, I mean, that all sounds I'm just curious, is that something that we can find out from legal before we do it? I mean, I'm supportive of the overall, like, I love the idea. If Greenfield could get their lights paid for by adding metered parking, right? Like, that would be that'd be very interesting, I think, for the community group, for, you know, these groups that are paying for that kind of thing themselves. Sure. So is that something we can find out? I mean, I'm supportive. I love the idea.
Yeah, and I think, Councilwoman Gross has been working on her parking enhancement district, and her parking enhancement district is a little bit different than ours, so they probably have explored some of the other options. Ours was really created with a very narrow focus. Right. And I think theirs was created with a very different narrow focus. Well, but so
theirs is, if I understand, I mean, I don't, you know, she's not here, but I think theirs is like traffic calm, you know what I mean? Like street stuff, which normally the city would do, right? So we're paying for city things with the money, and yours is public safety and cleaning. Like, that's also like a city function. Right. Right. Like a core city function, just exclusively for them. So that's why I'm interested.
Yeah. I think that is part of the purpose of the parking enhancement district, is that the city is not able to deliver the level of service that some of these regional areas require. Similar to the concept of Sophie Maslov and creating RAD, it is that we have these regional destinations, and we need to capture regional dollars into their maintenance. So the great thing about the park enhancement district is it doesn't actually charge residents from the south side unless they park their car on East Carson Street. It charges residents from elsewhere that come in and create the mess and has them pay for cleaning up the mess. But we also now want to pay to attract them. So. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. So I definitely, I mean, but I don't know, like,
Christmas lights downtown, is that like the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership that pays for that, or is that the city that, I don't know. That's what I'm asking with the legal opinion. It'd be good to know that before a final
I'm
vote.
sure the PDP pays for them, but I don't know the ins and outs of how they pay for them.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm supportive, but yeah, it'd be good to get that,
Lights downtown.
that opinion.
It's through the collection of their bid dollars.
I'm I think the park enhancement districts are a really clever way to capture dollars and keep dollars in districts. Very supportive of the idea of them. The only thing that I will say that is the caution is that it cannot be done, like it wouldn't work on Walnut Street. It has to be on a pretty big main street. It has to collect a fair amount of revenue to make it sustainable to collect any revenue. That the enforcement costs are too large for a business district like Walnut Street to have something. You have to have a business district like East Carson Street. Murray would work.
Yeah, I was
but-
thinking Forbes. Murray.
Yeah,
I mean,
Forbes, right.
That's a different discussion. 'cause
Absolutely.
the business owners don't want it.
Well, yeah.
But, you know, okay.
We have different districts.
Yeah. I mean, I was just curious. That's all. I was just curious about like, because like normally the city would not pay for like holiday lights or banners promoting some local thing or whatever, right? That's the only question that I have. Anyway, okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Deferred paper, Bill 1039.
Bill 1039, Resolution amending Resolution Number 237 of 2021 to provide for the extension of a professional services agreement through June 30 of 2026 with Zeo Technologies for costs associated with the provision of web hosting services for the City Controller's Office. Total cost not to exceed $26,250.
Motion to approve.
Second. Discussion?
Discussion, Councilwoman Strasburger?
Yeah, I believe there are members of the controller's office here to discuss this. This
Yes.
bill has come up before, held it at the request of the controller's office.
He is coming forward now. Andrew, you just announce yourself for the public.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Andrew DeWitt, Special Projects Manager with the City Controller's Office. So yes, this is the same bill that we discussed last month with Zeo Technologies, which runs our open book Pittsburgh site. We had asked for council to reconsider the bill as we discussed with the law department, looking at contract language to make payment on the bill conditional based on the operational consistency of the website. So we have talked with law, we are working through that now, and we are now ready to proceed with the writing and the signing of that contract.
Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. I don't have any other questions. I don't know if other
Councilman Charlin?
So operational consistency, what does that mean? If it's only open for 11 months of the year, we only pay them 11, 12
Well,
of
that
the contract?
there would be language for us to either end the contract or that there would be conditional amounts, right, deducted based on it not being live or working. That is the language we wish to include, and law is going to make sure that that is included.
We should do that more often with a lot of city things, that if they're not working, we shouldn't pay them. I like that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to new papers, Bill 1149.
Bill 1149, Resolution amending Resolution 277 of 2023, which authorized a professional services agreement and/or contracts extension with B2G Now by increasing the total spend by $71,000 for a new not-to-exceed amount of $232,243.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second discussion?
Discussion?
I'm just curious what this is. I don't, it doesn't sound familiar to me. Does anybody?
Well,
Extension of professional That's an extension.
Looks like Chief Williams is joining the table.
Yep.
Please.
If you would both introduce yourself, and I believe the councilman just needs a quick overview on what BTG now is.
Thank you, yes.
Absolutely. Felicity Williams, Deputy Chief of Staff.
Darius Wallace, Administrative and Project Coordinator.
So B2G Now is the software that we use to track MWDBE participation on contracts with the City of Pittsburgh in the Office of Business Diversity. This particular amendment is to add a module to that would allow us to also be able to track workforce participation on those contracts as well.
Explain workforce
For sure.
participation.
So there's actually a portion of our city code, 177A02, that authorizes our Office of Business Diversity and the Equal Opportunity Review Commission to monitor specific goals related to workforce participation for disadvantaged populations. Unfortunately, it has not been activated or acted upon, at least in the time that Chuck Durham has been manager of the Office of Business Diversity. So he's been with the city for quite some time. And we are looking to activate on that, given one, our designation as a workforce hub by the White House, and then also the mayor's commitment to workforce as a critical tool of economic opportunity for our region. Economic empowerment really starts with a good job. And so we would look at things related to participation by disadvantaged worker populations, and also wanting to ensure that there is job quality, that those jobs are good jobs, that we're paying prevailing wage, that there's fringe benefits, things of that sort.
Okay. Is this grant money? This is taxpayer money.
Correct. It was already previously authorized in our budget. This is actually a reduced cost. We budgeted a much higher cost for this, and we found some cost savings utilizing an existing vendor and system that we have, just adding a module to it. This is a one-time cost that will cover us through the remainder of the term of our existing contract with this particular vendor.
And how long is that time?
We have payments through 2027.
Okay. Well, that was my question. Was this annually, or this is just a one-time cost?
Yes.
It's not something that we'll probably even renew when it does expire.
We may want to, we'll renew potentially the vendor. Gotcha. We'll have to go through a procurement process as always when, a contract ends. There may be a different vendor that we want to pick at the end of the term of that contract, but this is just a one-time cost to be able to add this particular module to this contract.
And do they actually provide people? Or no?
The vendor does not provide people,
Right.
but they do provide technical assistance. We've been on calls and conversations with them to support our staff's ability to utilize that system.
So they're like a check engine.
They actually own the technology, the platform, and then that is what we are contracting with them for, to utilize that platform and to provide that technical assistance.
Okay, so we get all our information from their technologies, basically.
It is a software system
Right.
that we have here at the City of Pittsburgh, and then it tracks and reports. We utilize those reports, use it to monitor compliance.
Yeah, and do we have one person designated towards this? Did you say, what was the gentleman's name?
We have an Office of Business Diversity. Chuck Durham is the manager of the Office of Business Diversity, but there are 2 other employees in the Office of Business Diversity as well.
Okay, and that's what they do. That's their job.
It's part
description.
of their job.
Right. Okay.
Part of their job, yes. They have other roles and responsibilities related to the goals of business diversity. So working with our procurement teams, working with our using departments, working with vendors, contractors themselves, working with subs. So they have quite a bit of work that they do related to that.
And Felicity, you mentioned Workforce Hub that we've been designated by the White House. What does that mean to Pittsburgh? Does it mean financial?
So the designation itself did not come with any financial resources. However, it did come with a lot of technical assistance from the Department of Labor. It did also make us more competitive for grant applications. We actually just announced earlier this month, or I'm sorry, we're in November now, earlier in October, some funding awards that have come to our region as part of this workforce hub.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the
You're welcome.
explanation. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councilwoman Warwick?
Yeah, thanks. So I'm curious, so this system would be used to track workforce development just like on our city contracts?
Yes.
Would there be any way, so as you mentioned, there is so much workforce development. There are so many nonprofits across the city who are doing workforce development. And I know there's big money coming in. So, I mean, just off the top of my head, you know, Catalyst Connections just got like $700K from the federal government, right? So that, you know, it would be really great to have a system where, even if it was voluntary, where all these you know, with Catalyst Connections, Partner for Work, you know, Trade Institute, like, and you know, these are all good, but where they are also tracking, like, okay, actually how many people have gotten jobs?
We're with you 1,000%, Councilwoman. That is a longer term goal. Right now, we wanted to make this amendment to the resolution so that we could start and pilot with city projects. Learn how this is done. I probably will come back up here in just a second. I believe it's the next bill coming up, talking about some national technical assistance that we have been awarded, only one of 4 cities in the country, to help us support doing this. So as a long-term goal, we would love to essentially pilot this work, but then work with our INP teams. We've already had some conversations with them about how we could house and have partners with us in a regional system that would do some of what you're speaking to as well.
Yeah, because it would be really great if there was, I mean, again, even if it was voluntary, right? Or if it was like we could sort of gently pressure and also our labor unions, all of it, right? To be like, actually, how well are you doing? Like, how many local Pittsburghers are you employing from all these, you know, from these various, you know, groups? So yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
Councilman Charlin?
Yeah, so I'm interested in this technology here. Assuming this all went out for bid and everything, have we been working with B2G now for a while, or is this new?
Yes, we've been working with B2G now. Actually, this resolution that it's referencing that we would be amending reauthorized our agreement with B2G now in 2023 all the way through 2027. So the city has been working with B2G now for a long time. They've been a long time vendor.
Okay. So I'm curious in terms of the software, is this like a directory? So I know that this is like we're concerned about minority workforce participation here. Is this something where like I put in, I don't know, Coghill Roofing and it tells me what participation Coghill Roofing has in minority participation, or does it work in terms of I'm like entering it in like a database, like Monday or Excel or something like that?
So it would not track it based on you as a vendor. It would rather track it based on the projects. So yes, within that, it would say you as a vendor within that city project, what your participation levels are. That is what we have right now for diverse business participation. So I don't know. I'm trying to think of what project we have happening right now. I don't know. Homewood Field, maybe. Like, let's take Homewood Field, for example. It tracks in that system, and our vendors who are on that contract for Homewood Field are reporting into that system on a monthly basis what their diverse business participation rates are. So we're only tracking diverse business participation right now. So MBEs, WBEs, veteran-owned, LGBTQIA+. Certified businesses. This would add an additional component where we would be also tracking the workforce participation for each of those on those city contracts.
Can you explain the distinction between the business participation and the workforce participation? I'm not sure I fully grasp.
Business participation refers to the ownership. So when we say it's a minority-owned business, a women-owned business. The workforce participation looks at the makeup of the actual workforce of that business.
Gotcha. So this will allow us to track the workforce participation, not just the ownership.
Correct. On contracts. Yes.
And we're paying $71,000 a year for this?
No, it's a one-time cost that would be for we're paying one-time cost up front. that would be for the remainder of the term of our agreement with B2G now, our existing agreement.
Till 27?
2027, yes.
Okay.
It ends at the end of 2027.
Okay. Compared to some of the software contracts that come through, that's relatively affordable. So.
Yes. We thought so too.
Any further discussion? Excuse me, just to give a little bit of context. Reverend Burgess used to always say, he's like the old man in the room. Now I feel like the old man in the room. Many years ago, I put money into the city's budget to actually do a disparity study. However, at that time, the mayor would actually not do a disparity study, which I'm so grateful that they're now moving forward. And so once it became clear that he was not going to do the disparity study, we decided to pivot because a report came out that said in that business diversity office, although a vendor may come forward and say, I've got 20% participation, once you check the records down the line, that individuals actually, the minority subs would actually not participate in those projects. And we weren't tracking it effectively, excuse me. So we took the disparity study money, and we put it into the BG2 Now system to get it up to speed and get our department up to speed so they could now do some of the things Director Williams is talking about, but they're now taking it to the next level because we didn't activate it all. So they're now activating all of what it has the ability to do, as opposed to what we simply set enough of money aside to do then.
Yes.
But
177A gives a great authority to the Office of Business Diversity and the Equal Opportunity Review Commission to do a lot of compliance around city contracts. And as Councilman Lavelle said, there's portions of it that have never been activated on, and so we are activating on those portions of that city code.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to Bill 1150.
I might want to say.
Might as well stay.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement or amendments thereto with the president and fellows of Harvard College, acting through the Taubman Center for State and Local Government at the Harvard Kennedy School to receive technical assistance to use procurement as a lever for inclusive workforce development, job quality, and local economic empowerment at no cost to the city.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
And seconded.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Affirmative recommendation. 11
Thank
Bill.
you.
Thank you. Bill 1151.
Bill 1151, resolution amending Resolution 39 of 2024, which authorized an agreement or agreements and lease or leases by and between the City of Pittsburgh and First Vehicle Services, a Transdev company, to manage and maintain the city's vehicle fleet by increasing the authorized spend by $500,000 for a new amount not to exceed $78,849,343.75 over a 6-year period.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second with discussion.
With discussion, Councilman?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's here to speak to this. Hi, Jen. Come on up. Yeah. Good morning. Introduce yourselves, please.
Jennifer Olzinger, Chief Procurement Officer, Office of Management and Budget.
Farmer Maurice Kapoor, Senior Manager of Food Services.
Great. Well, welcome. Thank you for coming to the table. That's just like an eye-popping number to me. I don't know. It's does this include every vehicle in our fleet?
Yes.
Meaning police, fire, public works, every vehicle.
It does, and this $500,000 specifically is to increase our non-contract work expenditures, which is vehicle accidents, replacing engines, so we are for the annual allotment for 2024, we have overspent that money. So this is to compensate. We're still going to be in a deficit this year, which Transdev will kindly bill us next year for the cheeseburger we're buying today, right? But we're going to be hitting 2025 in a deficit in those non-contract expenditures just due to, the age of our fleet and, all the engine repairs and things that we're having to incur.
That was going to be my.
So that's what this $500,000 is to add, to Band-Aid that, which we are taking from savings in fuel.
Right. Of course, the older the fleet, the more expense there is. Correct.
Absolutely.
And we have. So it's a pot of money that we've, over a 6-year period of $78+ million. And that includes if a fire truck needs an engine, if whatever, it doesn't matter. They tally an ongoing bill, basically, and at the end of each year, they're like, hey, by the way, you spent this much. So it's, if we go over, we have to reimburse.
Right.
And if we go under, we don't go under.
If we go under that,
Do we ever go under?
that goes, no.
Right, right.
No, every year we're coming here asking for more money for these non-contract expenditures, just due to the severe age of our fleet.
Well, that's the
And
issue.
it is. I mean, we have,
If we had all brand new vehicles,
Wouldn't that be lovely?
We would need some money, but not
nearly this
78+
much.
million,
Well, annually, we're spending at least $500,000 a month.
Right.
On just keeping things running.
So this company,
Sometimes
they have
more.
their own
Yes,
mechanics.
more.
Their own mechanics are spread throughout Western Pennsylvania. I mean, are they? So if an engine goes, what do we do? What's the process?
It depends. Usually, if it's an engine replacement, that gets sent into a third party. But that's all. It all comes from
So
that
they
same bucket
change
of money.
the oil.
They're responsible for
their maintenance.
Right,
No,
that's
this is just maintenance.
That's
This
our
doesn't
contracted.
include replacing the exhaust system. This doesn't include any of that.
vehicle
that's-
damages or
Holy cow.
operational damages that are incurred.
Yeah. The other bucket of money we have for contract expenditure, that's for the oil changes, the inspections, the brakes, stuff that is scheduled. But this 500,000 we're talking about is just to keep things on the road.
Yeah, but that 500,000 is in addition to
Yes.
70. Yeah, it's in addition to 78, or the 78 is a total after the 5.
It's supposed to be the total.
That's total
That's
after
a
the
total,
5.
after the 500,000. Right, afterwards, yeah. So,
And we'll probably be back here next year
Right,
asking for more
right.
because we just,
not to mention vehicle purchases that we're going to need, as you know.
Yeah,
so-
we got to keep things running. We have to get garbage picked up.
Yeah,
We
but,
have
but
to.
don't we have a garage? I mean, I forget the sergeant's name for the police. He's constantly, repairing vehicles. I mean,
Yes, we work hand in hand with Sergeant Waller and police as far as keeping their fleet operational.
right. So that we do a lot of our own. But like if it's something like an engine, we send out to a third party.
But whether it's Transdev doing the repairs or a third party, it's all the same pot of money.
Right. But they're basically changing the oil and maintenance for vehicles. So what's that come on to be?
Tail lights, when a hopper is clogged, when a
10. So that's like, what is that, like 12 million a year or so?
At 78?
78 divided by 6.
Closer to 15, but yes.
72. Yeah, it's more like 13 million a year.
we spend a lot of money just keeping our vehicles on the road.
That is amazing. I am shocked by that. I just assumed like engines and the actual repairs were included, but
Yeah, environmental services alone have a minimum of 10 write-ups a day for vehicles just coming in for
I see the
random
trucks
things.
going up and down the parkway,
constantly-
and they all look like they're kaput, basically, barely running,
And
taped together.
it is quite the struggle to keep them operational. so.
Yeah. Would you say their vehicles are probably the most often worked on?
Most
Just so
often
far
worked on?
in this year, we have spent on non-contract authorizations over $1 million.
Just for environmental services.
Right.
Fire is 800,000.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think the root of this problem is a aging
Aging fleet.
fleet.
Absolutely.
There's no question about it. I've been long advocating for, as you know, vehicles, and we're only putting really a quarter of what we should be putting into it every year for new vehicle purchases. We failed to buy vehicles with the ARPA money, at least the vehicles that I felt we should have. I think we spent a little bit, but not much. So here we are with an aging fleet and an extraordinarily high cost of maintenance for that fleet. So, okay, and that's not going to get any better, as you said. It's just going to get worse. So we're going to owe money from last year, or we're going to owe money from this year?
This will pay for probably October.
right.
November and December, we don't have.
Oh, so we're already over. We're adding money just for the
Just
next month.
to pay what we've already spent, yes.
Oh, ouch. So we're gonna need we might need another $1 million. Right?
It's gonna come out of.
Or it's going to roll into
That's
2025.
for this year?
Yes, correct.
Oh, yikes.
It's gonna come off the top of 2025.
That's scary. It really is
Yes,
to
it
me.
is.
It's just a lot of money. Okay. I mean, I know there's nothing. Got to keep the vehicles running. Got to keep them on the road.
Yes, sir.
So that's it for me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilwoman Gross?
Thank you all. I remember that we had extensive conversation about this contract last year because it is just so enormous that it makes you a little sick to the stomach. And I do understand Councilman Cockill's point that it's only because of our aging fleet. But I wonder now, a year later, if how that is more or less true. I mean, I think about older cars that like just keep running forever, right? Or your appliances at home that just keep running forever. And with the increasing built-in obsolescence, I wonder how much that is true with even new vehicles. And so I don't know if, I'm not asking you to slave away at a report that isn't easily provided, but I think it would be interesting to see which kinds of vehicles are costing the most. Maybe we just shouldn't have as many of those. Certainly, we do things here in Pittsburgh that other cities do differently, right? Some places have more tiny garbage trucks than we have, right? Twice as many, but half as big. I don't know. I'm not a vehicle expert. Whether they're easier to repair. It certainly would mean more, different staffing, but every year when we have the ELA discussion at the budget hearings, and I'll do it again this year, I ask about the vehicle miles traveled on this environmental services fleet that you're talking about, right? So you're talking about our garbage trucks mainly.
Correct.
That are we call them haulers, waste haulers, right? And they're the ones that come by the curb at your house and then kind of compress the garbage after we put it in there. But largely, they're big, they're old, and they make about 3 miles per gallon. And they drive 15 miles every time they fill up, all the way out to Imperial or to Westmoreland County. They tip their load into the landfill. They drive all the way back with the 2-person crew. It takes crew time. It's a stupid wear and tear putting those trucks on the highway. And we could cut, the total amount of miles that they travel is vehicle miles traveled. It's like a number you can add up, right? Cities are cutting that in half on specifically their waste haulers by implementing curbside compost pickup. I've talked about this for 10 years now, right? So it's tonnage. That truck fills up. It has to drive to Imperial or drive to Westmoreland County. There's 15 miles, I think, around, for each trip, depending on which, they're both equidistant, and then come back and then go back and start picking things up by curbs. If we eliminated just food waste from that curbside pickup, cities are cutting that amount of load in half. That means that truck could pick up twice as many households before it has to drive out to Imperial. That means half the staff time, half the miles on that truck, etc. It does mean changing our fleet, right? But maybe it's time to think about that, right? Those oldest waste haulers in our contract here with First Vehicles, my God, I don't know. I'm just looking at them. They look like they're from the 1970s. You're nodding yes. I mean, yes. I mean, do we know?
No, they're
not the 70s,
but they are. We have
pushing 20 years old. Some of them.
Exactly.
Okay, 20, not 50. All right. So, but they're old. They're stinky. They're awful, right? We have bought some new ones, but they're even bigger. So, I voted no on the compressed natural gas because then we had to build our own compressed natural gas facility. But I wonder too. I mean, I know that some cities have because they have smaller streets. And they have, to navigate those streets, they have smaller fire engines. I know the firefighters are probably going to call and yell at me right away. but I've seen their giant trucks navigating some of our tiny hillside alleyways. And it's impressive driving skills for sure. And so I just wonder kind of what is the relationship, and I'm not expecting you to answer it kind of flat out, but it feels like if we clearly need to make massive investments in our fleet, or we're going to incur these massive maintenance costs that are just, again, it makes me sick to my stomach to see this just going to this, and this particular company especially, because our arch nemesis, Veolia, who destroyed the Flint water system and the Pittsburgh water system, who we fired and sued, bought First Vehicle and Transdev. Yeah. So it really makes me sick to my stomach to us paying them $78 million. So those are just big thoughts. Again, I actually don't expect you to have any of the answers to those things, but it really does feel like we should bring this back up again in our budget hearing and really work with our Equipment Leasing Authority. I know Councilman Coggall's on the Equipment Leasing Authority, to maybe we need a little bit of a rethink about, let's just not do things the same way we did them in like 1999. All right, that's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilman Charlin.
Yeah, so as the new guy here, I do have a question why this contract is coming through us, and would it make sense for this contract to come through the ELA?
These expenses are budgeted in OMB operating.
Okay. I just, part of me thinks that the coordination of us needing to buy more vehicles and the coordination of us needing to fix more vehicles should be under the same person's hat. You know, I could be wrong about that. There could be reasons that Chief Cornell could tell me that I'm very wrong about this. But you know, we're spending. This is an exorbitant contract, and I understand the need for it. I also understand why every time we meet with almost every department, they're one of the things they talk to us about is the broken down vehicles. And you know, Sean Weigel is very adamant that like his job is trucks and people, and the trucks are always the first problem. And I do want to see us something I will be pushing for is moving more towards the EV vehicles, which I think require less maintenance. I know that there's reasons why we can't move compactors to, you know, I know we talked about moving to CSG and why that hasn't worked yet. CNG. NG. Yeah, I was close. CNG. But I got the other letters right. You know, I get that, but also like we've got to find a way to. This is not sustainable for us to keep paying this. Is this location on 51?
No, this is in the Strip District on city facilities. They basically rent out our garage.
What? There's always a bunch of broken police vehicles on 51. I thought this was what this was, but is that?
You mean at the Steam Fair or something?
Yeah, by the Steam Fair.
That's a new. That's where Swap Works out and stuff.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Well then.
We lease it.
Yeah, that's where our
Appreciate
special
that.
deployment is at.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I just want to reiterate, like, I think it's time for some new thought on how we can. I don't know what it is. I'm not an expert here, but new vehicles. Councilman Coggall's going to get new vehicles over there, but so
Get us some grant money, whatever. We'll take it.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll spend it.
Any further discussion? If not, towards all your concerns, it is worth noting that your concerns are going to be even more exacerbated because we're putting even less money into vehicle this budget season. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. Yeah.
We need 22 a year to really be.
May I? Okay, interrogatory. Absolutely. You know, Brandon did a study. We, a city of our size, a fleet of our size, to keep that fleet up and running and in good shape, that we don't have to worry about these exorbitant, you know, bills, maintenance bills, is $24 million, I believe. He said that we, a city of our size, should be putting into our fleet. We are putting $6 million in next year. I think last year we only put $6 million in. So we're only putting a quarter of what we should be. But what's really bleeding us is on this end for the maintenance. I mean, I could see that. That's crazy. What do? Do they assess our fleet by saying, you know, how old it is? How do you come up with that raw number? And then that we fall short of, I guess, this year at least. I mean, what do? Just assess, do they take into account the age of our fleet? Is that what they do?
Yes.
Yeah. Because they say Pittsburgh's got...
And what they think our replacement rate is going to be, and then what our replacement rate never is what we project it to be.
Right. So if we had all brand new vehicles, our maintenance would probably be $5 million, not $80 million.
Oh,
Right.
Right?
Be
Or
peanuts.
Just think of the cost savings on warranty repairs themselves. I mean, you're not responsible for that.
Ugly path here.
Thank you. Councilman Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that hits me here, and the EMS briefing that Councilman Caldwell chaired yesterday, we talked about EMS trucks breaking down on the way to or from calls, to the point that Chief Gilchrist said that she no longer keeps track of how often that happens, which is terrifying and should scare all of us. But it does beg the question, like, at some point, should we make the decision to not pay for maintenance for a year and sink that into a new fleet? You know, I don't know if that's the right decision, but something like that, making that, you know, it's almost like paying off a credit card so you don't have to pay that high interest rate.
I mean, we
in the future.
wouldn't be able to service our citizens.
Sure,
if we
right,
did that.
right.
I mean,
But what is, you know, that maybe that would have been
we'd have
more,
our fleet sitting on the lot broken.
a more thoughtful way to have used ARPA, something, you know, the investment into a new fleet here. This is crazy. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 1152. Thank you all for being here.
Bill 1152, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Office of Management and Budget to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank for professional services to address food insecurity at a cost not to exceed $100,000.
Motion to approve.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to Bill 1153. Madam Clerk, if you would take 1153 all the way through 1167, these are our annual budget bills, and they all need held for a public hearing.
1153 through 67.
Through 1167. What did I say?
Yeah, let's just double check.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Bill 1153, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Ko Sin Chu in an amount not to exceed $3,425 over 1 year in full and final settlement of a claim for damage to his parked vehicle from a city ES recycling vehicle on April 1st, 2022. Bill 1154, resolution authorizing the City of Pittsburgh to participate in applicable cooperative purchasing agreements for goods, materials, equipment, supplies, services, or construction as authorized by the Commonwealth Procurement Code and the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Law for the 2025 fiscal year. Bill 1155, resolution providing for the letting of contracts and for the use of existing contracts for the use of materials, supplies, and equipment for city departments and the maintenance, repair, rental, and or leasing, rehabilitation, renovation, inspection, or servicing of city buildings and facilities, and for any miscellaneous services in and for any city departments, and providing for the payment of the cost thereof for the 2025 fiscal year. Bill 1156, resolution adopting and approving the 2025 capital budget, the proposed 2025 community development program, and a 2025 through 2030 capital improvement program. Bill 1157, resolution making appropriations to pay the expenses of conducting the public business of the City of Pittsburgh and for meeting the debt charges thereof for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2025. Bill 1158, resolution fixing the number of officers and employees of the City of Pittsburgh for the 2025 fiscal year and the rate of compensation thereof and setting maximum levels for designated positions. Bill 1159, Resolution authorizing City Council to approve intra-departmental transfers throughout the 2025 fiscal year. Bill 1160, resolution authorizing appropriations and salaries of the Stop the Violence Fund for the 2025 fiscal year, beginning January 1, 2025. Bill 1161, resolution authorizing appropriations, salaries, and capital expenditures of the Parks Trust Fund for the 2025 fiscal year, beginning January 1, 2025. Bill 1162, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Office of Management and Budget to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh for the administration of certain 2025 PAYGO-funded projects and programs and providing for the payment of the cost thereof, cost not to exceed $1,100,000. Bill 1163, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title II Fiscal Article 7, Business-Related Taxes, Chapter 245, Earned Income Tax, Section 245.03, declaration and payment of tax at subsection D so as to fix the rate of interest on delinquent earned income tax for the year 2025. Bill 1164, resolution authorizing all city departments in conjunction with the Department of Finance to enter on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh into a facilities usage agreement or agreements during the 2025 calendar year for the purpose of permitting groups to rent city-owned facilities for recreational and community-focused activities and individual amounts not to exceed $10,000. Bill 1165, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title II Fiscal Article 7, Business-Related Taxes, Chapter 246, Home Rule Tax, Section 246.03, declaration and payment of tax at subsection D so as to fix the rate of interest on delinquent home rule tax for the year 2025. Bill 1166, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title II Fiscal Article 9, Property Taxes, Chapter 263, Real Property Tax and Exemption, Section 263.02, Payment Options, Discount and Delinquency Penalty, so as to set the payment, discount, and delinquent dates for the 2025 fiscal year. And Bill 1167, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title II Fiscal Article 9, Property Taxes, Chapter 263, Real Property Tax and Exemption by fixing the rate of real estate taxation for 2025.
Motion to approve.
Need a motion to hold for a public hearing.
Motion to hold for Cablecast public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Councilman, sorry, I didn't catch this before we started reading. I believe 1153 does not fall into the budget bill categories. It is a claims bill that was had an executive session held yesterday.
You are correct.
It's still Cablecast public hearing.
Well, no, not. We'll come back to 1153. So, all those in favor for the Cablecast public hearing,
Aye.
Aye.
and then Madam Clerk, will you go back to 1153? Because I initially said 1154 through, and then I corrected
Yeah,
myself.
I remember. I looked at that, but I thought it said.
Bill 1153, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Ko Sin Chu in an amount not to exceed $3,425 over 1 year in full and final settlement of a claim for damage to his parked vehicle from a city emergency services recycling vehicle on April 1st, 2022.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve. It was held.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just very quickly, just want to thank the law department for briefing us on these.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That brings us to the invoices. Need a motion to approve the invoices.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Invoices have been approved. Need a motion to approve the intra-departmental transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that brings us to P cards. Need a motion to approve the P cards.
So moved.
Second.
There is one note on the P cards that IMP has 2 charges for Twilio that helps with their voice over internet system that does go above 8,000. So we need a motion to waive the rules to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any further discussion on the P cards as amended? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? P cards have been approved. That takes us to Public Safety and Wellness Committee, chaired by Councilman Coghill. Our first new paper is Bill 1142.
Bill 1142, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into a professional services agreement or agreements with Humane Animal Rescue of Pittsburgh for services related to the city's spay and neuter program for community cats at a total cost not to exceed $105,000 over 3 years.
Yeah, motion to approve with discussion.
Second.
Discussion, Councilman?
Yes, we'd like to call to the table David and whoever else wants to come up to speak to this. We spoke about this at the
Hearing.
yes, yesterday, and I just wanted to expand on it.
Morning. Lee Schmidt, Public Safety Director. Charles Showers, Manager of Personnel and Finance for the Department of Public Safety.
And David Madden, Supervisor of Pittsburgh Animal Care and Control.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. We didn't expand on this yesterday because we knew we were going to be talking about it today, I think. So I just wanted to cover a couple things and see what members, if they had any other concerns about it. So we're expanding the spay and neuter program, and we're doing it to cats and dogs.
Yes, we're expanding it back to own pets and dogs. We have been doing cats, and then we are also expanding or returning the trap and release cats, from which we currently have at 5 max, I think, per trapper, up to 30 per trapper. And then we have some new forms and testaments that folks have to sign and proof of things. So dogs specifically, and mostly this is budgetarily, we are not going to do dogs for all residents anymore. We will only do dogs if they're within income limits. So if they qualify for things like SNAP, they would be eligible to get a discounted rate for the dog, or sorry, not discounted, the dog spay and neuter at no cost.
That's just dogs, not cats, as far as the income level goes.
As far as the income level goes, yes. All cats, whether owned or community cats, would get no cost.
Right, and we spoke briefly about this yesterday. In the past, we were going to discontinue this because we found that a lot of, people from outside the city were taking advantage of this, using people's addresses who live inside the city. And the problem at the time, I think, was like, how do we enforce that when we're not doing the spay and neutering? We have to count on the clinic to do that, and we can't count on them to like proof of residency for everybody. So how are we going to tighten that up where we don't have that same problem? And what measures, I guess, have been put in place, if any?
Yeah, so one, they have to sign and affirm the document stating that they do reside in the city. We obviously can prove that fairly easily with, a couple bills, et cetera.
They sign that at the clinic? Is that
They
right?
sign that, no, when they apply for the program.
They apply through the city.
Through
and they
Animal Care and
sign,
Control.
I swear to you that I live at 710 Shady Crest Court.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have the language here even if you guys want the whole thing.
Yeah.
But basically, they affirm and declare they are a resident of the city of Pittsburgh, residing within its limits, that the animal for which the service is being provided is mine and also resides in the city of Pittsburgh. I accept that the city may conduct random verification checks
Right.
and acknowledge any falsification may result in the city of Pittsburgh pursuing reimbursement along with a penalty of up to 20% for administrative costs.
What would it cost somebody who doesn't meet our income threshold to have a dog or a cat spay and neuter? Are they the same cost, or is it?
No, it varies on cost. So the cheapest is you have a cat neuter, then cat spay, then dog neuter, and dog spay is the most expensive. And it all depends on the breed of the dog, the weight of the dog, and the age of the dog.
Yes.
Do you have any idea, like say a average cost?
Probably to neuter a male cat, you're probably looking at, outside of our spay neuter program, probably looking at between probably $50 to $100.
Okay.
To spay a female cat, probably $125 to maybe $175. Neuter a male dog probably would cost you right around $200. And actually to spay a female dog, depending on the size and the breed, that actually can cost upwards of $800 or $900.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, because when you get into bigger dogs
sure, right.
and older dogs, they require much more. Certain dogs have what are called brachycephalic, so they have trouble breathing as it is, or like bulldogs and stuff like that. They require special treatment during the entire surgery, special breathing apparatus and everything else. So it can get very expensive.
Right, Dave. So as we know, people find way to beat the system, no matter what the system is. And you say we'll have checks. So if my cousin lives in Baldwin and I say, well, listen, we'll use my address. I'll bring Rover down. We'll get him spayed and neutered, and don't worry about it. I'll return him back home. So who's going to check? Like, is this your real dog? I mean, they may sign that waiver saying, yes, this dog lives in my house, but in reality, we don't have a person or a force that goes out and says, we just want to make sure your dog's home today because, we saw you apply.
Well, there's a couple of things.
We're not checking on dog residencies, are we?
Well, we have some things put in this time, not only just for us, but also as a benefit to the owners. So if a dog or cat that is owned comes in for this program and they're not already chipped, they will be chipped. The chip will be registered to whoever it is on the form. So if that dog or cat would be found loose, the little microchips they put in animals.
So we can plug in and say, let's make sure that Rover's in the city limits.
No, it's not a GPS tracker. I don't like that. I know they show that on TV, but I don't think that exists yet. What it is a chip with a code on it that our animal control officers can scan and verify ownership. Many people do that already because if their animal would get lost, it's a way to easily find it.
I completely understand.
So so if the animal would get loose in the city, and we would come across it, or even outside the city, and someone comes across it, it's going to be registered to the person who got the spay or neutering done. So then that person is going to be on the hook for any charges that may come.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is there criminal charges if they sign the waiver and we find out that...
Not criminal, it'd be civil. It's against the city. That's why we add like I said, we add the 20%. Additionally, we do have the animal control officers and phone calls that we can make to folks, or just, when they're out in the neighborhood and it's not a busy day for them, we can have the animal control officer just stop by, a month or two after the procedure on a random day, see if people are home, ask if the dog or cat's doing okay. We do have some intentions of ways to ensure compliance with the policy and the procedures there. I'm not saying it's not
going to be foolproof.
But I also believe most people are honest enough that if they're affirming it's their animal, they're not going to be as comfortable saying.
This may be a dumb question, but is there a certain age that a cat or a dog gets to be where we don't have to worry about spay and neutering them?
Well, that would depend on the veterinarians at HAR at this point. So certain cats, if they get to be about normally 12 years or older, then again, putting them into a surgery might not be in the best interest if it's always been an indoor cat.
Well, can they still carry a litter at that age?
Yes, they can.
Is that right?
Yeah. Now, for dogs, you have dogs, again, based on the breed, the larger breeds live less than smaller breeds do. So if you're talking about a Newfoundland at 6 or 7 years old, you probably don't want to get that dog spayed or neutered because, its lifespan probably is only 1 to 2 years old. However, a Chihuahua at 6 or 7, it's got a long life ahead of it, so you probably do want to get it spayed or neutered.
Right. So there is no biological clock for dogs and cats. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes.
It's interesting. We don't set a timeline. I mean, if they bring them in, it doesn't matter if your cat's 20 years old. They want it.
Like I said, when you start getting to certain ages, they require blood work. They'll require what's called a senior checkup and things like that. And they may find some underlying cause that would not make sense to put the animal under anesthesia just for a spay or neuter.
Okay, well, I'm glad we're continuing it. We've heard the advocates come down, and I think I had no idea we had such a feral cat problem until I took office here. But a couple of years ago, I mean, it was out of control up in Carrick. It seems like we got some sort of I don't feel like it's as bad. I don't know if that's because of our program. We could take credit for that maybe, but.
We can take credit for part of it, yes.
Yeah.
The more and more people are becoming interested in at least helping out and trying to get the understanding that spay neuter return or neuter return does work. It's not an instant fix, but the average lifespan for an outdoor cat is about 50% of what it would be for an indoor cat, because of all the different hazards they're exposed to while they're outside.
Sure. Okay, I'm glad we put measures in to at least try to limit fraudulent pet owners. So, glad we're continuing it. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Charlin and Councilman Warwick.
Were you first? Okay. So I don't have as many questions about the animals themselves, like Councilman Coghill, who perhaps should have been a veterinarian. But I do want to ask about the contract. So what is it that stops us from allowing contracts to lapse because we didn't see that they were ending? Is there an alert on through the controller's office, or when we have a contract, how do we know that a contract is coming up for expiration?
I mean, for the most part, it's just careful tracking of everything that comes through. It does mean that sometimes things fall through the cracks a little bit, but yeah, we do have, I mean, procurement helps with that too. They do their own tracking.
How do they track? Is there a software system that is tracked in?
I believe well, I would have to defer to the chief procurement officer who was up here earlier.
Yeah.
But, I believe their platform allows for some automated notifications.
Yeah. But most of that falls on the departments to kind of track. We don't get automated notifications reminding it's going to expire. We do track them pretty well. And then in the case of this one, it was more the vendors also did not want to quickly renew the contract. They wanted to have a little more conversation about this issues they were seeing in the cost. And even in this case, we used to have two vendors. One just decided to not submit at all because they feel it's no longer part of their business plan.
Yeah.
So that this one took longer than a normal one, but we do try to track all of our contracts, and also based on varying contracts, the RFP process can take much longer or much shorter timeline depending on the cost and the complexity. So, but most of it's a manual process right now for us. We have a spreadsheet, and Charles and I kind of look at what's coming up in the next year, 2 years, and then start to figure out timelines for when we need the RFPs and all that. So,
in this case, also, I'll add that the previous iteration of these contracts was combined the two portions of the program, the community cats and the pet program. We've split that out for this iteration, to see if that. Just to see if we could allow other vendors to apply for just one portion or the other, or to allow for different specifications, because the community cat needs are definitely different than the average pet owners. So that's working through that difference was another reason for some of the delays in putting this together.
So, but let me ask, another way. I've got full faith in Charles, but let's say that Charles gets hit by a bus tomorrow, or maybe moves after the state funeral that inevitably we would have to
wins
have.
the lottery and leaves.
Wins the lottery and leaves. Yes, we like that one more. But yeah, after the state funeral, what is it that prevents us from allowing contracts to lapse moving forward? What are the redundancies to make sure that those kind of situations don't happen? The spay and neuter program is one contract, but we have a lot of contracts that are very important to our the organization and the franchise of the city.
Yeah. Well, shared spreadsheets is helpful for our department wise, but
Sure.
As Charles stated, we do also rely a lot on procurement and their system. my opinion, it probably could be a lot better that all folks would kind of get a notification or have a way of seeing it. I'm just not sure what the capabilities or complexities are. I know the controller has one system for contracts, procurement has another. I'm just not sure.
We did ask the controller's office when they came, their system does not give alerts for contracts. So I know that to be true. Or at least they don't use it for that purpose. But I do worry about contracts lapsing and just, the spay and neuter is one thing, as Councilman Coggo mentioned, the feral cat problem is certainly a problem. But then I worry, are we forgetting to renew other contracts that could really damage us in the future, more than the feral cats?
Yeah, I agree. The system could be.
Okay. Cool. That's all I got.
Councilwoman Warwick?
Yeah, thank you. So just to kind of summarize, so there's income limits for dogs. How many dogs can you get spayed or neutered? Can a Pittsburgh resident get spayed or neutered?
2, right? 2
per year?
Yeah, we're starting off with 2 per year.
Okay.
I think it brings up a sort of a broader point, I think, which is we're essentially repiloting the program. So there are going to be some things that, we try for a year and see if maybe the limits could be adjusted later on. We just ask everybody to be patient and
and I will say most of these limits are so we are within the confines of our budget on this.
Right.
Based on the new costs for the spay and neuters, as well as historical data of how many we do, we kind of tweaked the contracts and adjusted them based on assumptions and how many we feel we could reasonably do, and just how many people would need to do more than 2 dogs in a year. Right. We do have a carve out for pregnant or a new litter of puppies that the female also needs to be taken care of. So there are some carve outs for certain things. Even with trapping, there's some carve outs if we have some room in the budget as the year progresses. We can adjust a little bit, but.
And does a dog need to, for a dog, would it need to be licensed with an address in the city of Pittsburgh?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good. So that's one thing. Yeah, I mean, you might want to think about like a 4-dog max over, 5, 6 years, whatever. Just a thought. Okay, so dogs have to be licensed, but we're not doing rescue. We're not doing dogs for rescue organizations.
No.
No, okay.
We're not doing cats for rescue either. It has to be a trap and release.
Oh, right, trap and release. Okay, but that's not a thing for dogs, so.
I hope not. No.
Right. Okay. All right, so cats. How many cats does a resident get per year?
Owned animals are 2, regardless of whether that's a dog or a cat.
2, whether it's a cat or a dog. Okay, so you get 2 cats or just 2 animals, period. 2 animals, period. Okay, so, and that's per household?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then the trap and release, how do they get unlimited?
No, they get 30.
30. And what about, because I remember there was, and so they get 30 per year.
Yes.
And if they're outside the city, they have to show that the cat was trapped in the city?
No, if at this time, the intent would be the trappers would have to be residents of the city.
Okay.
Testifying or attesting to the fact the cats are trapped in the city and then will be released back to the same location they were trapped.
Okay. Okay. So it is only for City of Pittsburgh folks who are doing this trap and release work, not for someone in Baldwin or whatever.
Not at this time, no.
Okay. No, I mean that seems, I feel like well, I don't know. I know that there were some folks who are doing that work outside the city that will be unhappy to hear about that. But I also, at least in my district, I know that there are a number of people at least in my district, who are doing that kind of work in the city, in the actual neighborhoods that they live in. So hopefully that's
and
that
that's
can cover
part
it.
of what we want to prioritize our own residents and our own folks doing that work in the city. If in the future the budget allows, or we're seeing that there's not that many trappers in the city, then perhaps it can be another conversation to have with council members and the mayor's office about changing some of the policies. But right now, like I said, we want the program to be successful. We don't want to have to increase the budget for the program at this time. And
okay. And so we wouldn't, just for example, Cog Hill maybe does not have pets and I have too many pets. So if you have kittens, for example, so we wouldn't do kittens. We wouldn't do, if someone came in with a litter of kittens, we wouldn't do those.
You have that.
Actually, we will do the kittens.
But they'd have to release them?
Well, kittens actually, there are some kittens that are feral that can still never be adopted out. So as far as the community cat program goes, yes, we can still do those, but kittens have to be of a certain age or of a certain weight.
Right.
And then again, we already have the exception in if you have a cat and it gets pregnant, we'll take care of the mom cat and the kittens if you own them. If you own the cat. If the cat gets
If you own the cat, you'll
Yes.
do the mom and the kittens.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, we have that exception. Same if you own a dog and it gets pregnant.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I'm also, I'm just wondering, because I know that there are the cat rescue places that will, like someone finds a litter of kittens and then they'll get those kittens spayed or neutered.
Yes, but they do that through their own programs.
That
and
is
their
their,
own
so
vets.
so that would not be, and how would we determine whether or not that's happening?
Well, normally if we can't
Tricky.
determine it, the Humane Animal Rescue can, because they've been at it a long time. They know. They're the ones that actually came to us and said, there are people who are taking advantage of your program.
So they'll know that person is not taking that litter of kittens and then charging a rehoming fee, adopting them out.
Well, yeah, and similar to and of course it's not perfect, but similar to the owned cats, there is anyone who is a trapper that is registered. They have to be registered in order to do it.
Oh, they have to be registered.
Yes.
Okay.
They have
All right.
to attest to the fact that those cats were trapped in the city and will be released back into the same place.
Okay.
If we are found that they are not or untruthful, then they
Got
will
it.
no longer be a registered trapper and will no longer be allowed to participate in the program.
Got it. And I did also just want to, this is more of a statement, but there was some concern from the folks who came down and testified that they were wanting transportation as part of the services, but just, and I understand that folks are in their role that they're doing, the work that they're doing, but it would just be prohibitively, imagine that there was some, that there are so many nonprofits and, individuals who are doing work that, I would argue oftentimes government should be doing, right? But they're doing it as either a nonprofit or themselves, but the city does not provide transportation for them, right? Whether it's, whatever it may be, right? Work that you're doing around the city. And similarly, we are not in a financial position to provide transportation for folks doing this work.
Yeah, the budget costs of that would be extremely high.
Right.
So we cannot do that at this time.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that, that we would love to, but it's just prohibitively expensive. We can't do that. Anyway, okay, well, this is great. This is a great program, and much appreciation to you all, and also to all the folks around the city doing this trap and release work. It is these are a dedicated bunch, and it is a necessary thing, because when you get a cat problem in your neighborhood, you notice it, right? Yeah. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I just got one
Councilman
follow-up.
Godkin?
Just to follow up on what Councilwoman Warwick had mentioned, and talking about verifying, where at least dogs need to be registered, correct? Licensed.
Yes.
Okay, so isn't it that simple? I mean, you have to bring your, does it say, I'm registered at so-and-so location and?
Yeah, with the
Does it
dog
have
being
the breed? It
licensed,
has
they
the
would have had
breed, It
to.
has everything on there that you would know to verify?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's not hard to, like I said,
Right.
the dog has to be registered to that owner, to that address.
Right, but they have to show the license, right?
They
And
do,
They show
but
the
it's-
license and
yeah,
it's
it's a-
done.
Right.
Oh, that seems simple for dogs anyway. Maybe
Yes.
cats, it's not as simple.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, and the other thing was trapping. You say registered trappers. Like Councilwoman Warwick said, I have Jody, who thank you for meeting with, and her group, and they take it upon themselves. They're passionate about it. It's it's great that they're working out there. To be a registered trapper, you're not talking about like trapping devices or cages. You're talking about a registered trapper could just pick them off the street and bring them in. That doesn't mean that they have to like trap them.
No, there are requirements from the veterinary clinic, how those any animals received. You can't just walk in with
No,
them.
is that right? So
Yeah.
to bring 'em
It's
in-
mostly for safety because feral
Yeah,
cats
yeah,
can be
sure.
a little less friendly.
But a
than
registered trapper,
domesticated.
it's not like some exorbitant equipment that you need to have. It's not like you.
Well, in a sense,
cages
it
and-
actually is, because
Okay.
with registered trappers, they know the area, they know the number of cats they're going to be trapping. They also want to make sure that the cats are not being fed the day before surgery. If somebody is just out there trapping on their own and they're not keeping track of that, then there's no way to know for sure that the cats haven't been fed the night before the morning of surgery, and then you could be endangering that animal's life. So it's always better to go with registered trappers. They've been doing it for a while in different areas with different numbers of cats,
Right.
and it's always important to go with them.
So can I ask you if you know this or not? Like, take for instance the woman I named Jody, works up in Carrick, Mount Oliver area. Is she a registered trapper?
I think she has done trapping in the past.
Right.
Most trappers, even Jody, are familiar with the processes required.
Right.
The registration is a little newer for us to do that, but that's why we're doing those.
Right. But Jody, if she
Something
found
different.
3 feral cats underneath a porch, which she has many times, she can't just bring them in.
No, as Dave said, they have to kind of stay isolated for
Got it.
a period of time. They have to make sure they don't eat for a period of time. So they would put them in some sort of a crate or a a cage.
But unless she's registered, she can't bring them in. Unless she's a registered trapper or an
Correct.
owner or the owner.
Or the owner,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, but like we said, most of the volunteers we've been dealing with have done it through our program for a number of years. We're just asking them to take a couple extra steps. The other thing is the reason they simply can't just trap them and bring them in is because we have to have, Humane Animal Rescue has to have room in their surgery schedule. So they can't simply trap 3 cats one day and expect them to bring them in. They have to send in the application, it has to be approved, and then Humane Animal Rescue will contact them and let them know how many cats they actually can bring in and on what morning they would have to bring them. That way they'll be trapping the cats the night before, knowing they haven't eaten, and bringing them in the next morning.
Okay, that's all very helpful. I get asked a lot in the community, so thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to Bill 1143.
Bill 1143, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into a professional services agreement or agreements with Humane Animal Rescue of Pittsburgh for services related to the city's spay and neuter program for pets. Total cost not to exceed $105,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Thank you very much. That takes us to
so
Public
much for
Works and
coming.
Infrastructure Committee, chaired by Councilman Warwick. First supplemental paper is Bill 1196.
Bill 1196, resolution providing for an agreement or agreements with Hill Community Development Corporation for costs associated with Rays Hill District project and providing for the payment of the costs thereof not to exceed $250,000, reimbursable at 80%.
We also read Bill 1197. That's okay?
And Bill 1197, resolution providing for an agreement or agreements with Larson Design Group, Inc. for costs associated with Rays Hill District project and providing for the payment of the cost thereof not to exceed $2,500,000, reimbursable at 80%.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
discussion.
With discussion? Sure. This is a
It's up to
federal
you.
grant that we received. We're under a tight timeline to make sure we're expending the dollars down. The first bill was for the Hill CDC to do the community engagement work related to this. And the second bill is for them to do the engineering and design work. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Both bills receive an affirmative recommendation.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to register aye votes on all remaining bills for the meeting. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you. That takes us to new papers, Bill 1168.
Bill 1168, Resolution amending Resolution 56 of 2024 entitled, Resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure to apply for grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development's local share account statewide to provide funding for the Smallman Complete Street project, to accept the grant, decrease the award amount, and authorize necessary expenditures.
Motion to approve, and I have an amendment.
Second.
Yeah, and I have an amendment just adding the amount to the title. So
Motion.
motion to amend.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the amendment?
I just have one question.
Councilman Wilson?
Since it says decrease the amount, does that mean that we went for a higher amount previously and now we didn't get as much?
Hi, everybody. Kim Lucas, Director for the City's Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. And yes, I believe, and I'm looking at you, Councilmember Warwick, that the difference is 13 cents. So that, I think, it was that.
Yeah, thanks.
That small of a difference.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any further discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to Bill 1169.
Bill 1169, Resolution amending Resolution Number 14 of 2024 entitled, Resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Office of Management and Budget to apply for grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development's local share account statewide to provide funding for the purchase of vehicles for the Pittsburgh Park Rangers, to accept the grant, decrease the award amount, and authorize necessary expenditures.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And then again, motion to amend to add the amount.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any further discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation, Bill 1170.
Bill 1170, Ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title V Traffic Article 7, Parking, Chapter 541, General Parking Regulations by amending Section 54104B entitled Smart Loading Zones to remove the pilot sunset date and clarify revenue sharing procedures.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Brief discussion.
Discussion, Councilwoman Warwick.
Yeah, would you like to come to the table?
Kim Lucas, Director for City's Department of Mobility and Infrastructure.
Rylan Seifert, Curbside Manager for Domi.
Okay, great. Yeah, so this is, I just wanted, I know there's been, lots of interest in the smart loading zone. So if you just, and you talked about this at the budget hearing as well, but just to give us a quick overview and update here.
Sure, Rylan.
Sure. So the Smart Loading Zone program began in 2022 as a pilot program to test out this automated technology to monitor the use of select loading zones throughout the city and also institute automatic billing and payments. And so currently we have about 55 smart loading zones installed throughout the city. We've seen almost 700,000 parks in those 3 years of the pilot. We were here at council, I believe, at the end of last year to do some amendments to our policies for the pricing, which institute a 15-minute free grace period for all drivers. Right now, we see somewhere between 70 and 85% of drivers using the zones are taking advantage of that free grace period. Over the last 3 years, we've seen a 70% increase in turnover, so the number of vehicles parking in those spaces has gone up, and people are also parking there for less time, meaning that there's more availability for those zones to be used for other businesses and other vehicles going to do short-term loading activities. And another huge benefit of this program that we've seen is that the number of double parks at the zone, so these zones also monitor that travel lane right next to the zones, has decreased about 98% in the past 3 years, which we think is an incredible safety benefit of the program.
Yeah, thank you. So I know there has been sometimes complaints about this program in theory, but overall, it is a resounding success. I mean, the double parking, the reduction in double parking alone is, a huge benefit just in terms of traffic, especially these days, right? I can speak to Squirrel Hill, like anything that can ease the flow of traffic is for the best. And I'm also glad to see the 75% of folks that are, using it as loading zones, like they're in and out in 15 minutes. That's what loading zones are for. They're not for, going and, I'm just going to 2 stores. Like, nope, it's really for a loading zone, and you can always park elsewhere if you need to stay longer. Anyway, I think this program has been a big success, and that's it for me.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gross and Councilman Charlotte.
Thank you, appreciate it. I know you covered it a little bit, but can you just summarize again for us, kind of like, why do we need this?
So one of the things that we've been seeing, especially in the past handful of years post the pandemic, is a very large increase in deliveries and also short-term pickup drop-off, things like Uber Eats, people's picking up dinner, that sort of thing. And that's put a tremendous strain on our very limited amount of curb space that we have in our cities. So a program like this is designed to help increase that turnover, to make sure that more people can get to where they want to go and patronize the businesses that they want to, pick up a pizza from or drop off their dry cleaning, those sorts of things. And so this technology, we were the first city to implement a pilot like this, and this is caught on across the country now, is that people are looking at these new technologies for how to better manage the curb space.
Thank you. So I just want to say that, like, I represent areas that have very, very active business districts, right? So lots and lots of little small businesses with, lots of paid parking. It's not evenly true across the city. There was a heyday of food delivery that sadly has passed, I think, because I cannot afford to order pizza for my kids anymore, right? And so, it used to be like $20. It's like, sure, the kids have gotten a little bigger, but it's like really expensive now, right? And so I'm doing picking up, right? We're trying not to order food at all, but if we do, I'm like, oh my God, who can go get the thing, right? And it's a challenge. So it used to be, I think when we first kind of discussed this, we were talking about people who were working as delivery drivers. But as I think you pointed out, it's probably now more and more from the sheer expense of it, people trying to pick up food themselves. Sure, sometimes we walk to get pickup. We're lucky enough to live near some small businesses. So that's the what. So there's a problem to be solved, right? Okay, so we don't want people parking for 2 days in a pickup and delivery short-term parking spot. And then if we don't have them and don't monitor them, then people double park or do dangerous things. And certainly I can think of a few areas, and I know you guys know them too, in my district, where it's very dangerous because of the amount of delivery and picking up cars. Having said that, let me move on to the kind of how. And I need you to refresh my memories a little bit. Anytime and every time I see revenue sharing, it reminds me of the bad operate and maintain leases that we've done, like with the water authority, like the consultants tried to do for our entire parking system that this council fought off and defeated. So tell me a little bit about this revenue sharing. That means we are relying on someone else to do this program.
So in the current pilot phase, the program has been funded by an in-kind grant and a partnership between a few different cities working with this kind of technology. As we move out of that pilot program, we need to take a look at how we're going to fund the program going forward. And so what we looked at was the model of automated red light enforcement early. And so what we're proposing to do is having Pittsburgh Parking Authority take over the full management of this program going forward. Right now, they're a partner on that. And that way they will be procuring the technology and managing that contract themselves. And so with similar to automated red light enforcement, this means that Parking Authority would be able to retain any of the revenue coming in up until it hits that threshold that covers the operating costs. So they can use that revenue coming in from the program to cover the costs that it takes to have the equipment, to have the software, and then beyond that, any revenue generated would be shared between the city and Parking Authority per the existing cooperation agreement between those entities.
Okay, so it's just revenue sharing between Parking
Right.
Authority and the City of Pittsburgh. But even if it's at that arm's length, what is the Parking Authority being asked to do to contract one of these operators? They're still contracting. And again, I'm not picking on you guys. I am consistently concerned when we are leasing out operations of the city, because the promise is always from the company, well, we're smarter than you all, and so we'll make you so much profit, and then we'll share the profit, and it usually works out really badly for citizens. So that's always a red flag for me. So is the Parking Authority just going to sub out to some kind of company that says like, well, we're just going to do this for you?
So the procurement would be for the company to manage the equipment, the physical equipment that's in our public right-of-way in terms of license plate readers, and then the software side of it. DOMI would maintain a role in helping still select locations and those sorts of things, but really this is a tool for automated enforcement.
Okay, so has our Parking Authority ever leased out equipment in the right-of-way that the city owns?
I would have to say I don't know 100% the answer to that, but I would imagine that, for example, they use Park Mobile and other companies like that to provide access to being able to pay for parking, and this is very akin to their relationship, I would say, with those vendors.
I'm not going to fight this today, but here's the red flags that fly up, right? So in cities where they've provided leases for people to like operate their, just lights, right? Like kind of like we fought, we had concerns over the previous agreements to change the light bulbs in our street lights and things like that. It's because it has worked out in other cities that these actually happened, right? That then that company was like, no, you can't have your block party because we have the lease and we don't want you to have it. So there's always a red flag, and I think we should be it's okay to be hyper vigilant about the way we do any kinds of privatization of operations, because that's what this is. Maybe we need it. Maybe it's one of the cases where we're judicious and careful and hyper vigilant. Contracting is worth it, right? But there is always a risk built in. So I'll just stop there, because this is not the first time I've given that speech, and it probably won't be the last, but I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilman Wilson?
I just want to mention that, I know there was, reference to who uses the curbside here and people picking up dinner or delivery people. But it seemed like it was, I just want to make sure that we're also talking about all the small businesses that have had these, these spaces for quite some time, and it was driven by that. That was a pretty much primary thing that was happening at the time. But businesses weren't able to use the space that they had been given. We own the curbside, but basically allowed to use that area like for actually getting supplies into their own business. So I just want to make that known that it was really, started out as a way to keep businesses going.
Thank you, Councilman. So, Councilman Charlin, Councilman Warwick.
Yes. So I wanted to ask about this program. So how easy is it to sign up for being a plate that's eligible in a purple district?
Yes, it's a one-time registration. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes as long as it takes for you to enter your license plate and a credit card. And it's a
Okay.
one-time registration, and after that, you can park at any of the zones.
Is it self-explanatory how to do that? I've never looked into it, but I don't know.
Yeah, we have information at every location with a QR code on how to sign
Okay.
up, and it's pretty straightforward from there.
Are a lot of like Uber delivery or Grubhub or those kind of companies, are they taking advantage of this?
Yes, a lot of those are independent contractors.
Yes,
we
right,
do know that a lot of them have participated. We've been trying to work with companies like Uber to help disseminate that information. We currently have about 8,000 registered accounts, and some of those are fleets. And so I know like the local Amazon district has a fleet registered with multiple vehicles, so there's more vehicles than that.
Is there a monthly fee associated to it, or is it just you pay when you park?
Just pay when you park for the time that you spend.
Okay, and the first 15 minutes are free.
Yes.
I know that when the spots went up, there's been a lot of fear around them. Like, I have a dry cleaner in Southside that the first time I spoke to this person, been in meetings before, but we never talked. They came up to me and they were like, "You've got to remove this spot. You got to take this away." And I didn't know enough to tell them that this is maybe not the end of the world. But it would be helpful, I guess, if more outreach was done around the businesses that were surrounding those locations, so that they know that this is something that their customers can take advantage of. It is, essentially free parking for them for 15 minutes. But I don't think that outreach has happened.
We have done outreach earlier this year at tabling at all of the different zones to help talk to drivers and the businesses nearby, but we can certainly go back out and do another round of that.
Yeah, I think that's necessary, and I would really ask that we communicate that, because I think right now, I'll be honest, I see the purple spots and I go, I'm not sure what that's about. I know that this is a DOMI thing. I'm not sure that I'm allowed to park there, and you're telling me that maybe I could for 15 minutes. If I'm not signed up and I'm there for 15 minutes, am I charged?
You won't be charged if you're not registered. You could potentially get a ticket in the mail though. If you're registered, you'll get billed for that time over 15 minutes.
Under 15 minutes. So
under 15 minutes, nothing happens. You're fine.
And
You're fine.
I'm not registered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, there's off hours.
So the hours of enforcement are the same as metered parking, so 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Outside of that, there's no enforcement.
Okay. I didn't know any of this. Okay. Sorry. One last question. I'm always concerned about traffic flow on Forbes. In Oakland, if you hit the lights right and there's no one making a delivery on either side, you can get through that painlessly. That never ever happens. So, and it has been a big concern for the Oakland Business Improvement District, and OPDC, and the Innovation District. All of them are really laser focused on this problem. Where we see more of the issues is not on if you're driving from town towards CMU, I guess. It's not people parking on the left, it's people parking on the right onto the sidewalks. We've asked Pitt Police to enforce that more, because Pitt Police are there much more than Zone 4 is. And they've said that they're going to try to target certain hours, specifically during rush hour, and try to get people to keep flowing along. But can commercial vehicles take advantage of these purple spots?
Yes, and we've actually had conversations with the University of Pittsburgh and OBID and OPDC, I believe, about installing more smart loading zones in Oakland to help accommodate some of the needs that, especially with BRT coming in. We know that right handling of Forbes has some issues that we're going to work to address.
Yeah, that McDonald's is really bad. I forget if it's a CVS or a Rite Aid. They're really bad, and the FedEx is horrendous there as well. So additional help there would make a big difference. And inevitably there's always someone doing some sort of facade construction or something that also shuts a lane down too. And if the BRT is going to drive that many more cars through Oakland, that's going to be a nightmare. So, okay. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Councilman Warwick?
Yeah, so that actually reminded me of a question. So currently, we're only, or I should, well, I guess I'm speaking just about Squirrel Hill, but at the time, we only put the smart loading zones in the existing loading zones.
Most of our smart loading zones were previously these like kind of standard loading zones. We have a few that were previously metered parking.
That were previously metered parking. Okay, so that is, so I mean, you know, I think that's also a place where people get a little nervous. I mean, I'm all for, I just say, you know, more loading zones. If there's double parking issues, more loading zones is better, and folks can park. You know, I mean, we also have handicap spots for folks who, you know, need to be closer for those reasons. But I mean, even if we made all of our business district, you know, like right in front of the stores, handicap and loading zone, if that's what keeps our traffic moving and keeps everything safer, and then folks who can walk a little bit can park a little bit farther away or not drive at all. But at any rate, yeah, so that's, I just wanted to, so, but when we are doing, when we are adding loading zones, and I know that you've done a good job of this, despite some of the comments from folks in the media that you haven't. I know that you have. I was surprised to get a call from a reporter saying that you had done no outreach according to a particular business owner, when in fact we had had an entire meeting in that business owner's business. So at any rate, you guys are doing a good job of this. But yes, please, when there are going to be new, you know, whether it's in front of the business or around, just, you know, whether that's connecting through us or through the, whatever the Chamber of Commerce is in the given neighborhood. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 1172.
Bill 1172, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into an agreement or agreements and amendments with property owners of 2401 through 2413 Beechwood Boulevard for the purpose of accessing their private driveway to help facilitate city waste collection services at the premises at no cost to the city.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. Bill 1173.
Bill 1173, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into an agreements and or amendments with Antonio Jimenez, property owner of 4026 Ohio River Boulevard, for the purpose of accessing their private driveway to help facilitate city waste collection services at the premises at no cost to the city.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 1175.
Bill 1174, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into an agreements and or amendments with the United States Army Corps of Engineers for the purpose of a land survey and stream gauge installation by the USACE at Frick Park at no cost to the city.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Brief discussion.
Chris Ornstein, Director of Public Works.
Thanks, Director. Do you want to just give us a summary of this?
Yeah, so this is actually pretty straightforward. So we're working with the Corps of Engineers as well as the nonprofit Upstream to support studying in this stream area. The Corps of Engineers has a support program for local nonprofits where they provide technical expertise. To do so, we grant the Corps, we're seeking to grant the Corps of Engineers right to access our property, to set up gauges, collect information. So there's nothing physically changing, but this is studying the stream, seeing its effects. We also note that nearby in the area is dedicated wetland that the Corps of Engineers had previously helped us to establish, and so this is kind of an offshoot of all those previous efforts.
So in terms of, do we know what they're looking for, or just?
They're monitoring flow rates, they're monitoring stream quality, They're monitoring, the presence or happening of any erosion activities. So they will be monitoring flow. They'll be monitoring stream quality, testing the water for temperature, chemical, those types of things.
Okay, great. So just the health of the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Now Bill 1175.
Bill 1175, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into an agreement or agreements between the city of Pittsburgh and Apollonia for professional design services for Cali Gitman Recreation Center's reconstruction at a cost not to exceed $675,690.68.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to Human Resource Committee, chaired by Councilman Charlin. One new paper, Bill 1141.
Bill 1141, resolution authorizing the mayor, the director of the Department of Human Resources, and the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation to enter into an agreement or agreements with the County of Allegheny to support children, youth, and family programs administered by the Department of Human Services at a cost not to exceed $4,200,000 for a one-year pilot agreement.
Motion to hold for a briefing?
Second.
What?
Discussion? Councilman Wilson?
Wait, motion to hold for, okay.
For a briefing.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
For like how long?
So we have the briefing?
Okay, and then come back and do it.
Yeah.
It's just
All right.
chattering away.
Affirmative recommendation to hold for the briefing for 1175. That takes us to Land Use and Economic Development, which is chaired by Councilman Wilson. First deferred paper is Bill 525.
Bill 525, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title 9 zoning, Article 1, Section 90203, zoning map by changing from R1A VH, residential single unit attached, very high density district to LNC, local neighborhood commercial on property roughly bounded by Hamilton Avenue, Dunfermline Streets, Hyoga Street, Cinnabar Way, and Zenith Way, all in the Allegheny County Block and Lot System, 13th Ward.
Motion to approve.
There's a second.
Brief discussion.
Brief discussion, Councilman Mosley.
This is a project being worked on by a local development group, and they're going to be turning what actually was a former church that for some reason was zoned as residential into a small commercial property. We're looking at partnering with Bike Share Pittsburgh as well as the current district magistrate into moving into this corridor. That's a growing corridor over on Hamilton Avenue. The new Alma Ellery Wilford Payne Medical Center will be across the street, and it really isn't, a residential, corridor. It definitely more so fits the local neighborhood commercial. So that's why I enthusiastically, move this forward. But I just want to give the members and the public a little brief synopsis, of what this zoning change is.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 985.
Bill 985, resolution providing for the designation as a historic structure under Title 11 of the Code of Ordinances, that certain site known as Pittsburgh Stained Glass Studio, located at 160 Wharton Street in the West End, 20th Ward, City of Pittsburgh. The owner of the property supports the nomination, and there is no cost to the city.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 959.
Bill 959, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code of Ordinances, Title 9, Zoning Code, Article 6, Development Standards, Chapter 919, Sections Signs, Section 91903, Non-Advertising Signs, to regulate the use of non-advertising signs for major public destination facilities in the RIV-NS district.
Motion to hold 6 weeks.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill will be held 6 weeks. That takes us to new paper, which is Bill 1176.
Bill 1176. Resolution authorizing the mayor, the director, of the Office of Management and Budget, and the director of the Department of City Planning to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Pennsylvania Council of the Arts for the purpose of receiving grant funds from the Creative Communities Program in an amount not to exceed $100,000 to hire an artist in residence at the city. The grant requires an in-kind match of $10,000 for a total project cost not to exceed $110,000.
Motion to approve. Is
there a second?
Second. Anyone?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to Bill 1084. No, sorry. 65.
We're
Yeah,
in the
that's 65.
Recreation and Youth
Yep.
Policy.
We'll now move on to Recreation, Youth, and Senior Service Committee, chaired by Councilwoman Cale Smith. First deferred paper is Bill 865.
Bill 865, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation to enter into an agreement or agreements with Paramount Pursuits to provide technical assistance to applicants and awardees of projects from the City of Pittsburgh's Food Justice Fund, some not to exceed $200,000 over 2 years.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Discussion.
Discussion,
yeah.
Councilman?
I just would like to know what this is about.
So if I'm not mistaken, this was an old bill that we have been holding while Councilwoman Teresa Cale Smith was seeking a legal opinion to make sure that we could appropriately expend because these are related to ARPA dollars, to make sure that we could appropriately expend this. My understanding is she got the opinion saying that yes, we could, and therefore we asked for this bill to now be put back on the agenda.
Okay.
We all got it about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. I'm sure she will have something to say if this is not okay next week. So.
Well, she was okay with it
Yeah.
coming back onto the
Okay.
agenda. I did speak with her about that.
Perfect. Okay, cool.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 1084.
Bill 1084, resolution authorizing renaming Ream Recreation Center to Dunlap Family Center.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Wait, so is that held for public hearing? Am I in
It
the
was
wrong
already
one?
held.
Yes,
It was held.
Oh,
already.
thank you. I see it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Takes us to our new paper, Bill 1148.
Bill 1148, resolution authorizing pursuant to Chapter 173 of the Pittsburgh City Code, the naming of the gym in the Ream Rec Center to the Massalero Gym in recognition of the Massalero family, John Massalero, for the work he has done in keeping a recreation center open, his father John Massalero Sr. and grandfather Mo Massalero.
Motion to hold for cable cast public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bill 1148 will be held for a cablecast public hearing. That takes us to our last committee of the day, Intergovernmental Educational Affairs Committee, chaired by Councilman Mosley, beginning with Bill 1145.
Bill 1145, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a cooperation agreement or amendments thereto with the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh and the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh to ensure equity contracting program requirements for both job quality and diverse workforce participation standards on construction projects.
I'm going to get a percentage.
Motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to just register I votes. I have a conflicting meeting. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 1146.
Bill 1146, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Office of Management and Budget to enter into an amended and restated cooperation and support agreement with the Allegheny Regional Asset District for the period from January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2029 at no cost to the city.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing discussion?
Yeah.
Councilman?
Just real, does anyone know what this is about? Are we saying we're part of RAD with this, or are we choosing RAD expenditures? Chief Cornell?
Everyone, Patrick Cornell, Chief Financial Officer. So the way that our relationship with the Regional Asset District works is we have to go up every 5 years to be deemed one of their contractual assets, which means we are guaranteed funds on the operating support side. We are always going to be receiving capital funds, at least 1% per the state enacting legislative piece. But on the operating side, the RAD board has to approve it every 5 years. They have already approved that. So we need to move this authorization through to sign the agreement to extend it for another 5 years. And I will flag too that this sets a minimum number of operating dollars that we will receive. Their preliminary budget for 2025, which has not yet had a final vote, actually has more than double that amount for the city of Pittsburgh. So this sets the floor, and right now our relationship with them is going really well, and we are hoping to receive even more than that.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Affirmative recommendation. Bill 1147.
And Bill 1147, resolution providing for a reimbursement agreement or agreements with the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority for costs associated with the Braywood Way project, where the PWSA is overseeing the design and construction of the stormwater management components, as well as the roadway replacement and rehabilitation, and has or will retain the services of a design consultant, construction management, inspection, consultant, and construction contractor for the project. The city will reimburse the PWSA for the work at a cost to the city not to exceed $324,072.09.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Affirmative recommendation. That takes us to meeting announcements. Tonight at 6 o'clock, council will hold a cablecast public hearing on Bill 701 as relates to the zoning amendment for community home. Speaker registration has already closed, therefore we'll move forward. Thursday, November 21st at 10 a.m., council will hold a budget hearing for the Bureau of Police. Also Thursday afternoon at 1:30, council will hold budget hearings for the Bureau of Fire. Then on Friday, November 22nd at 10 a.m., council will hold budget hearings for the Office of Municipal Investigation and the Citizen Police Review Board. And also on Friday, November 22nd at 1:30, council will hold a cablecast post agenda relative to the plan for homelessness into winter, which is chaired by Councilman Charlotte. Also, next week, council will hold our regular and standing committee meetings on Monday, November 25th at 10 a.m. and 1:30 respectively. Speaker registration will close at 9 a.m. the morning of the meeting. To register to speak at these meetings or hearings, fill up the sign-up form on the council webpage, or call the clerk's office at 412-255-2138. Anything from members? If not, motion to excuse the absent member, approve the minutes, adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.